Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Film Club Podcast, where every month we deep dive into different aspects of cinema, directors, genres, actors, or franchises. It doesn't matter, because it's always fun at the Film Club. I'm Dean.
I'm Becky.
And this month we are talking about the great American genre, film... what?
Noir.
That's right, film noir. And to cap off this month, we are talking about one of the totemic entries of the genre, movement, what have you, with the film that is arguably one of the pinnacles of the New Hollywood movement. We're talking about...
Chinatown.
That's right, we're talking about Chinatown, directed by Roman Polanski from 1974. It is considered one of the greatest films of all time, with one of the greatest screenplays of all time. The star-making role that made Jack Nicholson a household name. And yeah, I fucking love this movie, and it's very hard to talk about.
It's not that hard.
It's a little hard to talk about.
It's not.
But yeah, I'm a big fan of Chinatown, even with the problematic people who made it. It's one of those movies that it's got that movie magic for me. You know, it is really...
You mean lightning in a bottle?
Exactly, lightning in a bottle. See, you know the words.
I do, and it pisses you off.
A little bit. But yeah, I really do dig this movie, and I'm curious your thoughts, because I know you haven't seen it in a long time.
Yeah.
And, you know, I'm just going to gush about it, honestly, because I think every part of this is an amazing film, you know.
I'd be surprised if you didn't.
Exactly. But I want to know your thoughts on it, because you're not as attached to it than I am.
Yeah.
You know, because noir is your genre. Like, you really love it. And I'm surprised you don't go back to this. Is it a thing because it's in color it feels weird? Is it because it's from the 70s? I'm curious why this isn't in your... Why this wasn't one of, like, your touchstone noirs, I guess.
A little of both. You know, I prefer my black and white noirs. 70s, I mean, granted the 70s had amazing films. That would have been a great block to... experience.
Wait till we talk about the other movies that came out this year.
Wow. And I mean, I love Jack Nicholson. He's a great actor. He does a great job in this movie. But yeah, it's just one of those movies where if it was on TV, it'd be in the middle of the movie, kind of like, oh, okay, I'll wait to watch it until I can find it from the beginning, and just never got around to it.
This is one of those movies that does not translate well if you start in the middle.
So that's why it's like, I was always putting it off because, you know, I want to watch it from beginning to end. Could have seen it last year, but, you know, someone dropped the ball on that for being one of his favorites.
I don't recall dropping any balls.
But, yeah, this was like an experience rewatching it again as an adult. Because, I mean, even simple things like the opening score, which is phenomenal.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't even remember that.
I've heard the opening score described as, like, just make the jazz saxophone just sound sexy, but like it's not good sex. It's like kind of sad and melancholy, but it just sounds so fucking rich.
Is that why we were listening to jazz in the car?
Huh? Oh no, that's just because my radio just has a jazz station on it.
Right.
Totally, you know. Yeah, we're gonna have some sad noir-y, you know, steaminess after the episode.
That's why we didn't listen to, you know, jazz music for 6 months leading up to the filming of Ragdoll.
Well, that one was just because, it got me in the mood to film some jazzy horror and whatnot.
But we all begged you, like, please, can we listen to something else? You're like, no, I need this.
I honestly just enjoy it. I really enjoy the score for this. It's a really beautiful and, like, rich score. And
when you think of noir, that's the kind of music you think of.
Exactly. And there's not a lot of it in the movie.
No.
And it's really impressive because it's a Jerry Goldsmith score, and he does this in, like, 10-day turnaround, right? Because I think they had a much larger score that patterned the entire movie, but the test audience fucking hated it, and Bob Evans, the producer, called up Jerry Goldsmith and said, you need to give me a turnaround in 10 days, and then we're going to premiere it in LA. Mm-hmm. And it just fucking works. I'm going to keep repeating that. Everything in this movie just fucking works.
I'm gonna have to dodge your hands because you're just like...
a lot of... It just fucking works. But yeah, I mean, the movie is, to me, just like a perfect object, right? Because there's nothing in this movie that I can find a flaw with, which I think is why it's a little hard to critique and talk about, because we've talked about movies that are like very fun and like objectively like there's nothing wrong like wrong with them that makes them not entertaining, but like this, even on a technical level, I can't find anything wrong with it.
It's like The Mummy.
It's a little bit like The Mummy, right?
And Jerry Goldsmith was the composer of The Mummy. The man knows lightning in a bottle.
It all comes together.
It does.
It all comes together. And I'm curious with you, because you're talking about the opening of the movie, that black and white sepia with the old like Art Deco font, the Goldsmith scores coming in. It looks like this old noir-y film, right?
Yeah.
And it's interesting because the movie is homaging a lot of noir elements, the Philip Marlowe's, the Big Sleep, Maltese Falcon. It has a lot of those stylings, but it's not shot like a classic noir. There's a lot more like long takes. There's more handheld. It feels like a 70s movie, which is interesting. I'm finding it interesting that it is such a 70s era film in its filmmaking and its execution when it's trying to do something that's very much not a 70s aesthetic, right?
70s are gonna 70s.
70s are gonna 70s.
I know you hate it, but these things happen.
These things do happen.
I mean, you feel immersed in the world. It doesn't feel like, it's a 70s cast and movie trying to pretend like we're, going back in time. This feels very much like we're in that world, but we've kind of upgraded ourselves with the movements of the camera and just Jack Nicholson being in every scene. It
feels more naturalistic.
Yeah.
And the Jack Nicholson in every scene, that's the concession of those old noir films where Philip Marlowe and Sam Spade, they have to be in every scene.
Every single scene.
Because it's all from their perspective.
Yeah.
And I mean, even the beginning of the movie, I find it funny, like how the movie opens, where we're already just shoved into, this is Jake Gittes' world, where we have Paulie from Rocky just finding out his wife's cheating on him. He's flipping through the old Polaroids, he's crying, and
I think that was the most shocking for me, that Paulie was in this movie.
Paulie was in this movie? That shocked you?
I was like, holy shit, that's Paulie. And I was like, wow, I haven't watched Rocky in a really long time.
Man, we should just watch Rocky.
We could probably do a Rocky month.
There's many Rocky movies we can talk about.
I've seen them all.
Do you do just the original 5? Do you also do Balboa and the 3 Creeds?
I haven't seen Balboa. I've seen the first Creed. I really like the first Creed. And I've heard nothing but good things about 2 and 3, so we could.
That would be the thing. I've been lobbying for us to do long franchises. Oh, we can do Friday the 13th. We can do this. We can do that. The Rocky movies. That's the first 8 film franchise we're going to do. But that'll be fine.
That's what he says.
Exactly. But the movie does do a lot in setting up Jake very early.
Yeah.
Because the movie really starts, he's dealing with Paulie here. Paulie's having this fucking breakdown. And Jake just does not care. Gittes just doesn't care. He's don't smash up the Venetian blinds.
He's in it for the money.
He is in it for the money. And it's almost a thing where I'm not sure if he is a good guy or not.
It's very Sam Spade.
We talked about that when we did Maltese Falcon, right? Where Bogart is objectively not a good guy. He's a morally gray character. He's a guy who would be I'm in it just for the money, and the only reason I'm doing good right now is because it's convenient for me.
Yeah.
Is Jake in that same lineup? Because he feels even more morally true than Sam Spade, because at least he seems to know the difference between good and evil. He's just kind of a dick.
Just a little bit of a dick.
Just a little bit of a dick.
But you could tell he's also hurt too. And it's what's hurting him? And then eventually, as the story goes on, it's oh, okay.
Oh, what's hurting him?
No, because he used to be part of the LAPD.
Mm-hmm.
He had this, incident with Chinatown, and it's kind of a sore spot for him. And it's you could tell that there's just something kind of weighing on him. And it's, further that we evolve into the story, it's he's down at the morgue, and, he recognizes people, and people are like, hey, I haven't seen you in a long time. And it's kind of that I miss doing this where, I'm here, at the coroner's office where I know a bunch of people that work here, or I could get onto a scene because I was part of the police. It's all these, I got to sneak into places and, kind of finagle my way in to kind of feel like where I was before.
It's kind of like a thing where he is living... He is trying to recapture when he had the status of a police officer by being this detective. I could see that, because I do think there is something to be said as to his background and why it feels like so important to him to solve this mystery and protect Evelyn Mulwray.
And that's why he gets so pissed off at the barbershop when, the other guy's talking about, you're just in it to be the pretty boy in the newspaper. And he's like, I actually care. I actually want to, bring things to justice. It's not just, how many stories can I get in the paper?
He keeps bringing up in that scene at the barbershop, right, when the pictures of Mulwray gets into the newspaper. Mr. Mulwray, and they find out that he was having an affair and all this other stuff. And he keeps saying, I make a decent living, like I make an honest buck, what do? You're a banker. You just like foreclose on people's houses, I'm trying to help people. He's very much trying to justify his own... maybe not bad actions, but like shady actions. He is following people around and taking pictures of them. He's breaking into houses. He's stealing, public records or whatever to unravel mysteries or to track people or to whatever. But he has like a complex about it.
And that's why I said, he comes across, with this chip on his shoulder that's, kind of weighing him down but hurting him at the same time. And he's like, yeah, I could break into that house, but they're doing far worse than I am. And it's just like, technically, yes, but...
I love the scene where he's going to Evelyn's house, and he's gonna, he knocks on the door. It's like, oh, they didn't answer the door right away? Okay, and just pulls out the lockpick, and he's about to break in, and the housekeeper just opens the door on him, and he's like, oh, sorry about that.
Yeah.
His first inclination isn't...
No one's home, I gotta break in.
He goes right to, they didn't answer the door fast enough. I guess it's empty, I'm gonna break in. Not, I'm going to give it another, few minutes. I'll knock again.
That sounds like something you would do.
Just, knock once?
If I didn't get to the door fast enough, you'd be like, you know what, I got some tools on my car. I could probably take the hinges off this door and just let myself in.
I mean, I could. I probably wouldn't, That sounds like a lot of work.
Are you sure? You like being places extra early? You're like, you know what, we got to be somewhere at 5. I better go get her at, 3:30 and, really make sure.
I mean, okay, this... totally related, but I'm not a crazy person or a criminal, but I do have a lockpicking set. This was one of those things me and my dad got into, was lockpicking, and we would open up master locks or whatever, because my dad was a building manager, and he'd have to people would lose their keys to their desk or this or whatever, and instead of breaking the lock open with a hammer, he learned how to do lockpicking, and I was like, oh, that's cool, and we learned how to do it together. So I do have a lockpicking set that I could use to get into places, but with great power comes great responsibility. So I don't use it for evil like Jake Gittes does. Well, I guess Jake Gittes uses it for eventual good, but I digress. But can we just talk about Jack Nicholson as Jake Gittes? Because this is his first true blue leading man role from a big Hollywood studio. It makes him a star, and it is so different than the Nicholson performances I see later in his career, or the rest of them in his career, honestly. Because Easy Rider, he's this live wire supporting actor. In Batman, he is the Joker.
One of the greatest movie villains of all time.
Yes, of course. Heath Ledger couldn't hold a candle to him.
Whoa.
Yeah, okay, we'll get there.
But I mean, Party Man. You hear that song and you just want to dance like the Joker.
Jack Nicholson knows how to dance. Footlight Parade on this. But he just seems so different than Jack Nicholson in The Shining. He's one of those movie stars that I feel you can look and it's like, oh, Jack Nicholson has a certain performance and aesthetic, and he turns some things up and down. But this feels
range.
He has range, right? But he has range in that movie star range. Bogart always plays Bogart, except he turns the gruff high on this one or down on this one.
Yeah.
Nicholson is kind of like that, but Chinatown almost stands aside from that. He is so much more scummy and weird and kind of goofy in this. You know, because there's comedy beats where I'm like, fucking Jack Nicholson looks like a jackass telling that Chinese joke. Like,
Yeah, that was really cringeworthy. I was just like, please make it stop.
and then
They
Faye Dunaway walks in, and you're like, oh no, the comedy back on point. He's telling this awful joke, and then back on point. The person who doesn't want to hear this hears this. Good shit. But yeah, Jack Nicholson's really good in this movie.
He is. And the man looks amazing in a 3-piece suit and fedora.
Okay, Jack Nicholson, I never thought was like a super attractive actor, but this,
when we've talked about, we've compared who attractive men in Hollywood were, yours were very surprising.
I don't recall.
Malcolm McDowell.
Oh, yes, Malcolm McDowell from like If or like Clockwork Orange or whatever. Boy, he has a boyish charm.
But you didn't say that at the time.
Michael Caine was another.
You had said, just Malcolm McDowell. I'm like, current? And you're like, no, way back, he was dreamy and this.
Okay,
and
an aged Malcolm McDowell could probably still get it.
Oh, no, that man is still attractive.
He has liquid charisma, all right?
Yes, even at the age that Malcolm McDowell is.
Fucking like in his 70s or 80s now.
He is still attractive, and I think part of that is the charm.
Mm-hmm.
He knows he's got it, and he's just like,
What about current Jack Nicholson? I want people to look up like current Jack Nicholson, where it's just like he's old, he's wearing like the ratty red T-shirt and the sweatpants.
He still has the charisma.
He has the that's one of my favorite clips. Okay, I think it's for the Oscars or whatever, and it's Jennifer Lawrence, and she's doing an interview or whatever, and Jack Nicholson just comes up and taps her on the shoulder, and she turns around and is like, oh my god, and he's like, hey kid, you did great in that in the movie, you really deserved your Oscar, kid, have a good night. And he walks away.
That was pretty good.
I know, I practiced my Nicholson for this, and Jennifer Lawrence turns around to the interviewer, and you can tell she's like, oh my god, Jack Nicholson, oh my god. And I'm like,
yes.
she was about to go blow Jack Nicholson. Holy shit.
I don't think it was going to go that far.
Mm-hmm.
Typical dude,
He was about to go for it.
She touched me. That means she wants me. And it's just like, no. A touch is just a touch sometimes.
Sometimes. But, but Jack Nicholson in Chinatown, really good. And he's a looker in this.
Very much.
All right, if you get to be objectifying, then let's get to my part. Faye fucking Dunaway over here.
She's beautiful.
Really good looking. Also, really, really good in this.
Yeah.
And,
a good femme fatale.
See, the femme fatale character arc, because that's come up, throughout this, right? And
it'd kind of be foolish if we didn't talk about the femme fatale.
A little foolish. Because with, the Maltese Falcon, we have O'Shaughnessy, and she was kind of like a proto femme fatale. Yeah. She was trying to use her ways or whatever to create a protector character, but I don't know if she was like all that dangerous, right?
Yeah.
She was, but in Hollywood's story, the femme fatale was a red herring.
Yeah.
But in this, Faye Dunaway plays Evelyn Mulwray, and she's doing a lot of the same things that O'Shaughnessy was doing. She's manipulating Jake into kind of like protecting her and taking care of her after her husband dies. And because she has this thing with her dad, and she knows that like she's in trouble, and she's trying to protect her daughter.
I love that scene.
Daughter, sister.
My sister, my daughter, my sister, my daughter.
And Jack Nicholson's just doing the front and the backhand. That scene...
It's very Joker.
Very Joker. Also, that scene, Faye Dunaway insisted on Jack Nicholson actually hitting her for that. And, which, dedication to the craft. I'm also glad that Faye Dunaway was the one who initiated it because...
We've had that where they've just been given the cue, go with it, and then we'll just apologize after. It's like, no.
I mean, speaking of Malcolm McDowell really got the shit kicked out of him in Clockwork Orange, and no one told him that was going to happen. But, because this movie does have the cloud over it with the Polanski of it all in his directorial style at the time, and that really fell really hard on Faye Dunaway.
Yeah.
And, Faye Dunaway said at one point where it's like, Roman has a very complicated relationship with women, and I think he was taking it out on me.
I can believe that.
Yeah, and I mean, there's reasons why Roman Polanski would probably have a complicated relationship with women, and how he has this weird complex or whatever, and how he was like making up Faye Dunaway to look like his mother who died in like the Holocaust. Like that, the only compliment that Faye Dunaway ever got from Roman Polanski in the entire making of Chinatown, this woman who was nominated for Oscars for this performance, this woman who had everyone praise for this performance, the only thing that Roman Polanski ever said was like, "Oh, darling, you did wonderful. You look just like my mother."
Ew.
Ew, and also,
Ew.
Yes, but man, this movie's really hard to talk about because of Roman Polanski. I guess caveat to the whole thing:
he's a twat waffle.
Twat waffle, awful human being, deserves to be in prison.
Yes.
100%. Even if you have like complicated feelings about whatever the fuck that happened,
yeah,
no, the man deserves to be in prison.
Mm-hmm.
And fled from the law, awful. You can have sympathy for like what happened with Sharon Tate,
and their child.
You can have sympathy for what he experienced when he was growing up in Poland during, World War II. Sympathy for the man, sure. What he did in the 70s to that 13-year-old girl, unforgivable. Cool. Awful person. He makes great movies.
Unfortunately.
Separating artist from the art.
Yeah.
But with him and Faye Dunaway, they had that really fucking just hated each other kind of interactions, and Faye Dunaway being a very like methody actress, and at the time she was like the second choice for this movie, and I think she was trying to prove herself because after Bonnie and Clyde she was having a little bit of trouble like recapturing that magic and getting back into like that limelight, right?
Yeah.
And this was kind of her comeback movie, and I think there are some stories of Faye Dunaway on set of Chinatown where she was incredibly dedicated, but also could have pulled back a little bit.
Yeah. Like
peeing on set. Little weird. Just saying.
These things happen.
But yeah, she still turns in an amazing performance. And I think the key to her performance is she feels so fragile and cold at the same time, right? Like she's not a big emotional presence until we get to the
very end.
The very, very end, right? But before that, she's very much you're afraid that like the world is gonna get to her and she's just gonna crumble.
Mm-hmm.
And she's so like reserved and pulled back. And I love the interaction she has with like Jack Nicholson's character, Jake Gittes, where he's trying to like put the moves on her and she's like kind of receptive and then pulls back like right away, and I love their chemistry in this. I do think she's probably the best femme fatale we've had all month.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
It's really, really like strong. And also I like that her character is really the one that gets the plot moving, right?
Yeah.
Because Mulwray, he is the person that Jake is hired to follow, right?
Yeah.
Hollis Mulwray, he's hired by this woman who we find out is not Mrs. Mulwray to follow him, find infidelity so they can slander him in the paper, and then Mulwray ends up dead.
Yes.
And Mulwray, Hollis Mulwray, he is based on Mulholland, and we realize that the entire movie is about LA and water.
Yes.
Because LA, if people didn't know, we're kind of a desert.
Yeah, a little bit.
You wouldn't know if you like walked down Sunset Boulevard.
The land where the stuff of dreams are made of.
Because the movie is really about LA. It's about the drought. It's about how this entire city that we live in, Los Angeles, was built by scumbags, kind of.
Yeah, because even to today, because you could watch this movie that was filmed in the 70s, about
stuff that happened in the 30s or 20s.
Somewhere in there.
Yeah. And the real events were in the 20s. This movie's in like the 30s.
And we're still dealing with the same issues. We constantly have issues with the water. It was the same thing with the fires that we just had at the beginning of this year, where there were issues with why isn't, you know, some parts of the town or of town not getting water. And it's like, oh, you know, the people that own the water, they weren't releasing it or they didn't know this. And it's like, this movie was filmed how many years ago and we still have people that own the water here in LA?
Yeah. Well, it's the thing where, what is it? Most of Central California at one point was a giant lake, and then it got diverted and it turned into like farmland and orange groves or, you know, communities or whatever. But that's been a thing forever. LA has never had enough water, and that goes all the way back to when, you know, LA was a really small like Pueblo farming community or whatever. And this movie deals with that. And it's really interesting how, like, Robert Towne, the screenwriter, adapts this real life thing that happened in LA into this noir story, in the conspiracy of it all. Because, you know, Mulwray, he's based on Mulholland, who built the dams that brought brought water into LA from, I think it's like the Owens River or the Owen Basin or something like that. Don't quote me on this. I only read like half a Wikipedia article about this. And then later on the conspiracy that's going on in Chinatown, that the whole plot and the mystery is kind of based around, where a bunch of like rich guys buy all this like droughted out farmland, this huge desert community, right? And then suddenly this bill gets passed and they're going to flood water from the farmlands out in the hills into the valley. And then suddenly this desert, awful valley is filled with water, and all this land is now rich and vibrant, and you can build communities there and you can build housing there. And all this land went from nothing to millions of dollars. That's a real thing that happened, and it's a little unclear if it was like this level of shady of like, yo, we're about to go and like fuck over thousands of farmers, you better buy up all this cheap land before it goes under, or hey, we have this project coming up and we're gonna, you know, flood water over here to this cheap land.
It's always the shady,
right? And that's represented in this movie. I love when Jake goes to the orange groves.
Yeah.
And the farmers greet him with shotguns and they beat the shit out of him because they're just like, we thought you were from the water company. No, god damn it, I'm a private detective. And then I thought about it. I'm like, how many dead bodies are on their land from like the mailman coming to drop off packages?
Don't worry about it.
Don't ask too many questions.
Don't ask.
That is one of the parts of the movie where I'm like, that's a little much. They wouldn't just say, hey, who are you? They just start blasting.
I mean, it is their land.
It is their land. God bless America.
God, poor America.
Poor America. Nah, poor LA, man. We ain't got no water. We ain't got shit.
We're always in a drought.
Always in a drought. Been for 20 years.
Can't get down to Chinatown. Not enough parking.
Not nearly enough parking. It is funny how this movie's called Chinatown, and we've been to Chinatown. It's not that big.
I mean, it's decent, but not enough parking.
Not enough parking. It's not big enough for parking. But I digress. But yeah, the movie's whole plot is around this like water, you know.
Yeah.
Whoever owns the land when the water floods into the, you know, the San Fernando Valley, those are the guys who are going to get super rich. And Mulwray, he's the one who's in charge of building the dam, but as long as he's alive, they'll never let him. The dam will never be built to flood the San Fernando Valley.
Yeah.
So they knock him off. They put in a guy who's more open to the idea, and the guy who's orchestrating all of this is fucking John Huston playing Noah Cross, who is also Faye Dunaway or Evelyn Mulwray's dad and her
baby daddy.
Yeah, Noah Cross, John Huston. Okay, John Huston, by the way, the director of The Maltese Falcon, Treasures of the Sierra Madre, African Queen, guy who showed up a few times on this podcast.
Just a few
times. This is your first time seeing him as an actor, I believe, except for his cameo in Treasure of the Sierra Madre.
I believe so.
Thoughts on John Huston, the actor, the thespian?
Well, his character is a shitbag.
Fucking shitheel. Like, he is one of the most, like, genuinely evil characters in cinema.
Yeah, and it's like, I love his daughter, Angelica Houston.
Angelica Houston, yes.
Who was just beginning to date Jack Nicholson at the time. So very weird.
You love the scene, right? Oh, so Mr. Gittes, are you fucking my daughter? Jack Nicholson's over there, like, looks over at Angelica Houston, who's just off screen. No, sir, I'm not fucking your daughter. Most awkward scene in cinema, and I'm not sure if John Huston did that just to fuck with Jack Nicholson. Because I don't know if that line's... I'd like to think so, too. I don't know if that line's in the script. I think it is, but I don't know if that was something he insisted on. But yeah, because John Huston is a very particular screen presence in this.
Yeah, he is.
You know, he's very charming. He's very, like, cordial. He's smiling. He's nice to everybody. But he's this giant bear of a man. I love how they shoot John Huston next to Jack Nicholson to make Noah Cross look like this fucking behemoth next to him, towering over Jake Gittes. And it just feels like this guy who is friendly and nice, but he could, like, just fucking strangle Jake, like, if he wanted to. And he's also, like, it's also a weird relationship, because I don't know the relationship between him and Mulwray, really, because they were business partners. They were the ones who owned the water company and the water and everything before.
Also sus that, your daughter married your business partner.
Who had to have been, like, decades and decades older than her, right?
But then again, dude, you banged your daughter, so... Okay,
I'm curious about that. So, okay, not curious about the banging your daughter thing, but Evelyn is like preyed upon by her father. Like, he's the guy that she needs protection from.
Mm-hmm.
And Mulwray, he is like, hey, I don't want to build more dams with you, and I'm going to sell the water company because everyone in LA should have water, right?
It should belong to the people.
It should belong to the people. Do you think that's why she marries Mulwray, is because she believes that he can protect her from her father?
I think so. I think it could have been a mutual thing where he's got to know his partner and just be a thing, hey, I can provide for her, I could take care of her, and, if she sleeps around because it is kind of weird that, there's this huge age gap in between the two of us.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I think it could have been...
He's like, you're my trophy wife, and I'll protect you.
Yeah, it could have been a deal where it's like, hey, I'm getting you out of the house, I'm protecting you, I'm going to do what I'm going to do, you do what you do, and we'll just pretend like, we're one big happy family.
Yes, and then there's that complicated relationship with the daughter, because the daughter is the one that he's having the quote-unquote affair with. Is Mulwray having an affair with Evelyn's daughter, or was that more like he's seeing her to, like, because I don't know because we don't...
It gets a little confusing.
Yeah, because it's never made clear that they are having an intimate relationship. It's just that Mulwray is seeing her, and I don't know if that was like, oh, Evelyn didn't know that he knew she existed, or what that was going on. Because when he meets Evelyn's daughter, and Cross finds this out, and there's this other business dealing going on, Noah Cross's end goal is to own all this land in the valley, make so much money, and, in his words, guarantee legacy or whatever, the future, I think is what he said. Because, he has all the money he ever wants, but he wants to guarantee the future. He wants his name, tied into LA and is the builder of LA and everything like that. And I think the tangible goal he wants is the daughter.
Yeah.
And it's so much more, like, fucked up because, like, for a villain, I'm like, oh, you want to take over the world. Well, that's okay. You're a bad guy.
Yeah.
Cool. But now it's like, you want your incest daughter for whatever nefarious means, and
your
also
take over
your daughter, granddaughter, and also take over the world. Yeah, that is a complicated and really, really dark ending to this movie. God,
hence the shitbag.
100% shitbag. 110% shitbag. Because the ending of this movie is such a fucking gut punch.
Yeah. It's like she was so close.
Oh my God. Now, the ending of the movie also was not supposed to be like that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, goes into Robert Towne's original script and everything, and I want to, I guess, we'll sidebar for a second, because Robert Towne, great screenwriter. I can't remember if I mentioned it on this one or one of the previous warm-up, quote-unquote, recordings.
Sure, warm-up recordings.
Warm-up recordings. It took a second for me to come to terms with how great this movie is. But he was a guy who got his start in the business doing punch-up work, doing stuff, ghost writing for like Bonnie and Clyde and The Godfather.
Yeah.
They would bring him in being like, hey, we need like punch-up on dialogues or scenes or whatever. And that's what his job was. He was a script doctor. And this is one of the first movies, if not the first movie, that he wrote that got produced by a real studio. Because Bob Evans wanted him to write The Great Gatsby as a screenplay, and he said, I can't do better than F. Scott Fitzgerald.
Which, fair.
Fair. They offered him $125,000 for it. He said no. So they offered him $25,000 to write Chinatown. And he goes up to Catalina Island for a couple of weeks and comes back with a tight, like fucking svelte 380-page script. Yeah. 380 pages of a fucking script. It's this big, huge epic, goes through all of like LA and all this lore and history. It was originally called The Picture Business, I believe.
Okay.
So it was going to center around more like Hollywood and all that stuff. And
so
then
kind of like Hollywood Story?
A little bit, yeah. But they eventually, brought like Roman Polanski on, and he narrowed things down. And the eventual script that finished, that Robert Towne like had together, the ending was Evelyn dies.
Yeah.
But Jake manages to save the daughter and gets her on a plane to Mexico.
Okay.
So she gets saved at the end. So it's a bittersweet ending. Oh, Evelyn dies, but her daughter is safe, and Jake is like lost his love, but is redeemed as being able to like say, at least I saved somebody from Noah Cross, right?
Yeah.
Noah Cross gets the city, but he loses the woman, the object that he is trying to take. Roman Polanski being like Polanski, and also it's like, I mean, at that point in his life, he very much is like, the world does not have happy endings, so let's be a little bit more realistic. I think it's because he kind of at that point, he just hated LA and Hollywood and all that for, we could say, like, rightful reasons after, like, the Manson stuff.
Yeah.
So he was like, it needs a sad ending. The bad guys need to win. And I think Roman Polanski's a fucking monster, but it makes for such an impactful ending when Noah Cross takes her, Evelyn's dead, Jake's like, no, we can't. And the fucking line, Jake, forget about it. It's Chinatown. And they walk off and the fucking sax comes in, and I'm just like, life is fucking awful, but goddamn it, film is glorious. It's a impactful ending.
Does it make it more impactful that we walked down those streets before?
So impactful. So fucking impactful. That's why, another reason why I feel like you and Robert Towne would have gone along swimmingly. Because Robert Towne wrote this movie because he's like, I need to preserve the LA I remember from the 30s. I want to shoot at these old buildings before they're taken down and they're destroyed. He literally recreated 1930s LA because he's like, that's the real LA. That's the shit I remember.
Which makes it more funny when you get into LA history. So originally Chinatown was where Union Station is. And
did they build it? Did they build Union Station over it, or was Union Station already there and it was like kind of around where Olivera Street or stuff?
No. It was where Union Station currently sits.
Okay.
And the year that this film is taking place, LA had no Chinatown because it was being built where Chinatown currently sits. So it's like we're kind of in this weird pocket of when the story's being told, there is no Chinatown in LA. Yeah. There's nothing there. But it's funny because you hear, they're going to 1712 Alameda Street. Alameda's where Philippe sits on. Yeah. That's why as soon as they said it, I'm like, I know exactly where that is. I could go get a French dip. It would probably still be sitting in that location. Oh, yeah. So I was just like, damn. I finally understand what Dean talks about every time we go to downtown LA or Burbank or whatever, and we pass by, all the sky rises in LA. Or we're coming home. and you're like, man, it really feels like Chinatown. I could get off on the streets and I could drive in the riverbed and I know exactly where I'm going. As soon as they said Alameda, I'm like, oh, damn. I could just go down this street and I could go get a French dip. Or I could go down that street in Alameda and I could go to Phoenix Bakery and go get me a slice of strawberry and almond cake. Oh, man.
So, I am not that crazy. It's not like I'm driving through and I'm like, just like Chinatown, I'm going to go. No, but when I played the game LA Noir...
I'm not saying that you're crazy. I'm just saying every time we pass by that stretch of freeway coming and going, you're like, it's just like Chinatown.
No, I say, man, that's the building from LA Noir because...
And then the jazz music swells in the car and, suddenly you're wearing a fedora and I'm like, where did that come from?
I always have it with me. But no, it's because, like, fun thing. LA Noir, made by Rockstar Games, really fun game, liked it. It's based in LA, but because I've driven around it so much, when they give you, like, directions, the game's pretty accurate, so I'm like,
it's like GTA.
Literally, so it's like, you need to get on, like, Figueroa Street or whatever. I'm like, oh, okay, I know where that is. So I don't need, like, the overhead map. I just kind of, like, okay, no, that building, yeah, that's the Hall of Justice. I'm going to take her right here, and then... Okay, well, the freeway on-ramp's not here because it's the 40s, but I know the streets enough I can get around here.
You remember that first time you went into the Hall of Justice and you kind of freaked out?
I was like, this is just like the game. I was here before. I know where this is. Is it that where the records room is? And they're like, how'd you know that? I'm like, Rockstar, man. That's how. Fucking LA Noir. GTA, guys. But yeah. I love Chinatown. I love LA Noir. I love GTA. I'm simple man. Simple man. But yeah,
remember that time we were in Chinatown and that dad had bought the little kid, the baby turtle in the container, and he put the kid on his shoulders, and the kid proceeded to slam the container on his head, and it just burst, and all that beautiful turtle water just went down his head and his back. He's like, oh shit! I love Chinatown.
See, I love Chinatown too. The movie, the cinema, the experiences, the place.
Downtown, got a lot of cool coins from Chinatown. A
lot of cool coins. But yeah, where fucking was I? Yeah, the script, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So it's kind of the reason why, like, Robert Towne wrote Chinatown, the draft that everyone can get a hold of. It is, like, legitimately one of the greatest screenplays ever written.
Is it also your favorite movie because when Jake gets his nose cut, he looks like the Invisible Man?
Little bit. I wouldn't call this my favorite movie. It is definitely one that I go back to a lot.
Did I say favorite or did I say you love this movie?
You said favorite.
That's one of your favorites. It's up there. I don't know if it's in your top 10, but it's up there in movies that you love.
It would, yeah, probably. It would be in my top, like, 20-ish, I guess. I'm not too sure. But yeah, the screenplay, the one you can, like, find online, it is like a perfect screenplay. But there's a lot of things, like the ending we were talking about, maybe fucking 20 minutes ago, is a thing that Polanski changed. The thing with, like, how Faye Dunaway looks, that's something Polanski changed or whatever. So it is the thing where the script itself is, like, it's a perfect object, and how it is manipulated, those things are where it gets a little more complicated to say how much credit Polanski gets versus Towne. But again, the movie itself is, like, wonderfully told. I mean, I love how this is one of those mysteries that is really just like my favorite kind of mysteries, where all the things you need for the plot to make sense is laid out in the first act. We know that Mulwray is dead. We know who the person that lied about all this was. We are introduced to, like, all the characters of interest. We can kind of piece together what's going on before Jake does, if we really looked at it.
And I love, because, this is the 30s, so it's, he drowned, there was water in the lungs, case closed. He must have jumped into the riverbed, and it's, really the dry-ass riverbed of Los Angeles, and it's just like, thank you, Jack Nicholson, thank you. It's shocking to us when we actually see water running through our riverbeds.
Yes.
It's like, shit, no wonder these things are built. Yeah, it's a fucking river, but most of the time...
It's dry as hell.
It's dry as hell. That's why everything's filmed in the riverbed. Yeah. But I love that little change in the story. It's very film noir when it's, well, we tested the water. It's salt water. it's not river water. And it's like, dun, dun, dun.
Mhm.
Okay. And like, now it's like everyone's starting to see something happened. It's
Yeah.
not just Jake that's, look, I'm, basically shouting it from the mountaintops. Hey, something's not right here. And it's like everyone else is like, oh shit, something's not right here. We got to look into this.
And that goes into the mystery thing, right?
Mhm.
Because, it's the salt water.
Yeah.
Where is, like, salt water set up? In the saltwater pond they have on Mulwray's property, or, Cross's property.
Which is such a good bait and switch.
It's set up.
Yeah, it's like, well, you were falling down at the ocean, and it's like, well, yeah, someone could have dragged him, drowned him in the ocean, and then, brought him to the riverbed. Why not do it in his own backyard?
Right. And there's also the thing, because Polanski has, like, a cameo in the movie where he has the knife.
When he cuts his nose.
And he's like, oh, I'm going to go and feed you to my goldfish. What do we see in the pond in the back? A little goldfish.
Uh-huh.
Right? So it's like, oh, he's going to kill him, in, like, the goldfish thing. It's almost like he's talking about, like, we already killed Mulwray. We'll kill you too.
Yeah.
Right next to the goldfish or whatever. It's a really, like... The writing in this is just so smart. It's also the thing where not only does, like, the lines have a lot of double meanings into it, and they reference other things, there's also the thing where it's like Polly, who Jake shows him, like, oh, your wife's cheating on you and everything like that, and they go to his house in, like, the third fucking act. I also love how the wife... Okay,
she's got 2 black eyes.
Yeah, okay, I don't love how the wife has 2 black eyes, but it's very fucking funny. All right, this movie has comedy in it, right?
And he's, well, honey, look who's here. It's Jake, the guy that took those pictures of you getting boinked in the woods.
No, she wasn't getting boinked. She was getting fucked. She was getting railed.
I was just trying to be polite. Thank you.
He was taking her from behind the bushes.
Like a couple of animals in heat. It was bad.
Yeah, there's no way Polly's taking that as, like, maybe she tripped. Nothing like that.
Oh no, let me help you.
Let me help you up.
I tripped over the same branch.
Oh, and I took my pants. But yeah, like, there's stuff like that where it's like, it sets up this stuff in the first act. We get it paid off in the third act. And the movie has that laid out. Oh, the Albacore Club or whatever.
Yeah.
Oh, yes, we heard them fighting. They were saying Applecore. It wasn't Applecore, it was Albacore. All these things are lined up, and it's a beautiful mystery that unravels. But so much of it is already shown to you in, like, the first act. And then as the movie progresses, you're not getting so much like new information. You're getting connections. You're like, oh, so that connects to that, and that explains, oh my, and you can start revealing and figuring out the mystery as it goes on, which is why, to me, this movie is so enriching on rewatches. It's a movie that really, like, pays off on, like, second, third, fourth viewings, because there's so much going on.
I'm rewatching it right now.
Oh yeah, that's true. We have it on in the background. But yeah, it's just such a perfect object of a movie that has so much, like, LA history in it, which is why I'm again so surprised you don't go back to this all the time.
I mean, I will now.
You will now.
I will now. After you blew it last year.
Wow, so rude, so rude. But yeah, it's a great movie. Big fan, big fan.
Sorry, I'm watching it over your shoulder. And that's one of my favorite parts of the movie that we're currently watching is when he goes to, like, the Hall of Records. And the big-ass book that he pulls.
Is that your favorite scene?
Well, I just like it because of how big the book is. And he's like, I need something from this year. And he's like, yeah, it should be on that shelf. And he comes with, like, it looks like one of the tablets from the 10 Commandments. He's just walking with this book. And it's like, how times have changed where, you could just go and, keyword search. Back then, it was like, you need this larger-than-life book.
You need a tome.
And good luck to you if you don't skip the page that you need and then you have to carry that big-ass book back. What a time to be alive, the 30s.
I don't think you would have done well in the 30s. Women barely got the right to vote.
No, they would have killed me immediately. I would have sounded off one time and then, she just happened to jump in the river. We don't know what happened.
What happened to you, darling? She got whacked.
She fell in the river.
She fell in the river.
She only looked like she took the beating of her lifetime. But, it's high up rocks that she just, fell down. Yeah, that's why she looks like that.
It happens. But yeah, I guess I'm curious. What is your favorite scene? If it's not the Hall of Records scene with its giant fucking books.
That's hard because I mean this movie's so beautiful, and of course they get me suckered in with the cars and the wardrobe.
The aesthetics of this movie is right up your alley.
Yeah, so it's probably has to be when he goes to Faye Dunaway's house for the first time.
Oh,
and you get that classic like old Hollywood house. Even though when I was looking at it, kind of reminded me of some of the infrastructure in Fullerton.
mm-hmm.
I was like, I've seen this before. And then her beautiful cream car that's just sitting in the driveway. I was just like, oh, this is Noir. This is LA.
Yeah. And it's also the thing where, we get the introduction of the femme fatale and their pitter patter, and her being like, oh, well, I'll drop the lawsuit. You don't have to investigate who murdered my husband. And you're just like, what the fuck? You don't want us to find out who murdered your husband? And it's also the first inkling that there's something going on. It's a really powerful scene.
Yeah. What's your favorite?
Oh God, you're gonna hate me.
Is it the Orange Groves?
No, the Orange Groves is a good scene,
because that's what's playing right now. Was when he's getting the shit knocked out of him, and then he finally gets knocked out with the crutch.
Yeah, my favorite scene, and I know it's awful. It is probably the ending of the movie. Mostly because of how impactful it all is, how downer it is, how well, like, the look on Jack Nicholson's face when, his buddy tells him, forget it, Jake, it's Chinatown, is so fucking good and powerful. And the Cross's, like, shocked expression when he sees Evelyn dead, and then he takes the daughter who's, like, crying, and I'm like, oh my God. It is such an insane, like, just, like, performance that everyone's giving, and it's just it's like the thing where it's why I like Tarkovsky movies, because Tarkovsky movies are a lot about like how it makes you feel, and this scene like makes me feel something, and it makes me feel like disgusted, and it's like, oh shit, I like pain. Sometimes in cinema you need a little bit of pain. But yeah, the ending of this movie is great. Also when fucking Jake Gittes and meets Noah Cross for the first time, when they have their back and forth, and he keeps calling him Mr. Gittes, and it's like Gittes, and it's like, I love that little demeaning thing where it's just like, he's being very polite, but he won't give you...
He won't say the name correctly.
He won't say your name correctly. He is going to keep fucking it up just to irk you, because he knows he can. And I love that little characterization. I love that. That's such like good shit to me. Those are probably my favorite scenes. I'm surprised you didn't say she's my daughter. No, she's my sister. No, she's my daughter. No, she's my sister.
I mean, that was funny.
It was funny.
Obviously, it was funny.
You laugh at Faye Dunaway getting slapped around.
It just reminded me of so many other movies. Marx Brothers.
Because
I'm sure we've had that. I can't even think what movie it is, but one of them's getting slapped around and, saying, my this, my that, my this, my that.
I'm surprised you're not going Airplane, Get a hold of yourself. Doctor, you're needed in the cockpit. Oh, I'll be right there. Get a hold of yourself, woman. Duh. And there's like the line of people getting ready to beat this hysterical woman in the airplane.
No, I think my favorite from Airplane is, are you nervous? Yeah. Is it your first time? No, I've been nervous a lot. That's my life right there.
Boo lives her life nervous.
Sometimes, you go to take a drink and, you miss and you hit your eye. It happens. These things happen.
Life happens. But you know what else happens? The release of Chinatown. And it does pretty okay. It had a budget of about $6 million. Has a box office of about 30 when it's all said and done.
Okay.
So, like, good
numbers.
Good numbers, made 5 times its budget. It, is popular. It's a critical darling. Everyone who sees it loves it. This isn't one of those movies where it's just like, yeah,
it's all right.
Yeah, it's all right. It wasn't like, oh, critics loved it and the audience were like, it's all right. It was like, no, the audience liked it. The critics liked it. It's just, there's another film that came out this year that may have absorbed some of the hype in the box office, because this movie was nominated for 11 Oscars, 11 Academy Awards. It won one of them. It won screenplay for Robert Towne.
Yeah.
Now, what was the other movie that came out this year that this movie had to compete against? This movie, Chinatown, that I've said is a perfect movie. Perfect execution, amazing acting, amazing setups, amazing payoffs, amazing cinematography. Would you say this is one of those like perfectly executed films, like a marvelous movie even?
Yes.
Would you say this is like a perfect movie?
Sure.
Would you say this is one of the best movies of all time?
Sure.
But what movie would have beaten this for Best Picture?
74?
Yes. What movie could you think of in 1974 that would be better than Chinatown?
Did The Godfather come out of 74?
Close.
Part 2?
Part 2. Godfather Part
Ooh.
2 comes out the exact same year as fucking Chinatown.
I do love me some Godfather Part 2.
Yeah, you get De Niro, you get Pacino, which the wild thing is Jack Nicholson was almost in The Godfather. So, yeah.
Huh.
Oh, did you not know this? Okay. Jack Nicholson was offered the role first. He was offered this role first in The Godfather, and he turned him down. He said, I want to be in more scenes with Brando. In this role, I'm only in it for a few times. That's not really giant for me. And also, I'm Irish, not Italian, and I think this should be played by an Italian. What role was Jack Nicholson offer? When you look at Jack Nicholson, 1972 or whatever, who should he be in The Godfather?
The consigliere?
Oh, no, he is not Tom Hagen.
Who did they offer it?
They offered him the role of Michael Corleone. He was the first Jack Nicholson was the first choice to play Michael Corleone, and he turned him down. Do you think Jack Nicholson lays awake at night being like, I could have been in the fucking Godfather? Holy shit.
Nah.
We kind of got the better of both worlds on this one. He gets Chinatown.
He's Jake. He's Jack Torrance.
Mm-hmm.
He's Jack Napier.
He's got a lot of good shit in his catalog. God, could you imagine the alternate timeline we're on where Jack Nicholson's in The Godfather and Al Pacino is the Joker? And granted, Al Pacino has been playing the Joker since Heat, so, kind of works out.
Hey, Batman. Great ass.
Yep, that works out. But yeah,
It so works.
It does work. But yeah, the movie is astounding, and also, like, I swear, if Godfather Part 2 didn't come out this year, this movie would have fucking swept. I swear to God. But yeah, huge critical hit, huge good box office returns, ends up on the AFI Top 100 Films. I believe currently it's on the BFI Top 100 Films of all time. It's lauded. It was one of Roger Corman's favorite movies. And it has stood the test of time, in my opinion. I think it still holds up as a great movie to watch today.
Agreed.
And
next time when they show it on the big screen, we're going to go watch it, right?
You're damn right. But that brings us to, I guess, the ending phase of Noir Month. And I finally get to ask you the question. I finally get to know your answer.
You've been asking me this every week and in between.
Exactly, and you refused to answer. But the whole point of Noir Month was to ask the question, well, it was to watch a bunch of cool noir movies, but it was eventually to ask the question, is noir a genre or a film movement? Because Maltese Falcon, the original noirs, come out in this wartime era America. It's a very dark, very dour time. New Hollywood, the 70s, right around, the ending of Vietnam, it's a darker, dour time. Both kind of have that same era around it, but the styles are different.
Yeah.
So is noir a genre that can be repeated and put in any era, or does it need to exist in these darker, more troubled times in the culture to be truly noir-y, truly successful films?
I'm going to piss you off with my answer. You ready?
Yeah.
Yes.
Elaborate, please.
No.
So rude. So rude.
I've been waiting all month just to drive you crazy.
The people need to know your thoughts.
I mean, it is a movement.
Mm-hmm.
Because this is what we do in cinema. We're constantly progressing, times change, themes change.
Films reflect culture.
Exactly. And with it being, what was the other one? The style?
The stylistic aesthetic choices that make the genre, the tropes of it all.
Yeah, and I mean, we still get noirs up until this day and age. We might possibly be working on one, just throwing that out there.
Don't worry about it.
But it's like, people love coming back to that genre.
Or that style.
That style. And it's like, yeah, so it's yes for both.
Mm-hmm.
Because like you've said, 70s, we changed the way that films were made and the theming of films and how, like for a while everything was musicals, and then we kind of got to the 60s where it's like it's a little bit more.
Well, the 60s are weird because the 60s, that's when we get like Sound of Music and everything gets really big and
The
overblown.
epics.
The epics, and we get like big color and studios and the
Panavision.
Panavisions, and there's like in the 50s and the early 60s, that's like very idealistic God bless America, and then we get into like post JFK and the Vietnam era and all that stuff, and Hollywood is slow to change, but once it does, it changes hard. And the 70s is kind of that hard back end of we're not doing the Sound of Music anymore. We're doing Chinatown. The world is a dark place.
It's like with the 80s where we get like the big blockbusters,
when Spielberg dominates the culture.
Action comedy, Brat Pack. So it's like we're constantly changing as the decades go by.
That's interesting because in the 80s, I can't think of a single mainstream studio noir from the 1980s. I mean, I know there's stuff
Blade
like
Runner?
Well, yeah, there's like Blade Runner, there's Blowout, stuff like that. And Blade Runner is a darker film, but it's like, I think from the earlier 80s. I'm talking like right at like peak Spielberg, like what is that, like 85, 86, 87?
Doc, you telling me you built a time machine?
Yes, basically, I guess post Back to the Future, when we get into
Marty, this time machine is the stuff that dreams are made of.
Yes, when we get into that Reagan era idealism of the 1980s. I don't think of a lot of like noirs from that era. The 90s, we get like a few. We get like LA Confidential, and LA Confidential is like a solid noir film, but it's very like idealistic, lovey style of noir. Like, it's really trying to capture those Chandler-esque films, and then you get films inspired by it like Big Lebowski, and we have Under the Silver Lake that comes out later. Noir is something that you can take trappings from and tropes from, but I think to get a truly authentic noir film, you need that culture around it, that kind of downbeat, like when the culture of society realizes that, man, the world's kind of fucked up and we got to kind of acknowledge it through like cinema.
Yeah.
But that's neither here nor there, because that is the end of Noir Month.
Sad bum bum bum.
Sad bum bum bum. But yeah, I really enjoyed this month. I fucking love.
Same here.
I love talking about Chinatown. I'd be happy to talk more about it, but I would probably just start losing track of talking about anything and just start rambling. Go check out our Evil Dead episode if you want to hear me ramble about a movie.
I mean, it is getting, a little bit darker outside, so. And we did record this. This is what? Lucky number 3?
Lucky number 3, yes, because Dean has a problem talking about movies he loves because he's always trying to find interesting things to talk about. Because, yeah, gushing is difficult, but I digress.
These things happen.
These things happen. But next month, we're going to be doing something totally different.
New month, somewhat new theme, kind of. We haven't talked about it in a while. We're going back to animation next month.
That is right. We're going back to Animation Month. Man, pronouncing that was so much fun. But yeah, we're leaving American genre. We're going into films made in Japan. And
I believe they're all made in Japan.
I believe they're all made in Japan. And we're going to be starting that month off with... is it the guest episode? Is it one of ours? Are we even sure? Do we plan these out?
We'll let you guys know where we're going.
But yeah, we will let you guys know about that.
I mean, Dean should already know this. We don't, usually drop what's coming next at the end of the month. We like to be just as surprised as you guys are.
Yes, and if you want to be pleasantly surprised, you can check out our stuff where?
You could, if you want to follow us on a different platform than you currently are, you can find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, and our YouTube channel.
You can go to our YouTube channel, The Film Vault. That is The Film Vault on YouTube, where you can go like, comment, and subscribe to the video versions of this podcast, as well as the slideshow versions, because sometimes we can't film these. But you can also follow our short films that we make with the collaborators on this show, who also are wonderful filmmakers, on the Felix on Mars YouTube channel. That's Felix on Mars on YouTube. You can also follow our social media at
the Film Club Podcast on Instagram, where we post upcoming episodes. where we can see what's coming next too. Guest episodes, events that we go to, and random adventures that we go on.
And with that,
we'll see you next week at the film club. Goodbye, Noir.
But Becky, it's just Chinatown.